Dear students, welcome back to the 7th online lecture of Money and Banking course. And in this lecture, we will cover chapter 22. This chapter is entitled as Quantity Theory, Inflation, and the Demand for Money. Let's start with the main learning objectives of this chapter, where we will cover the meaning of monetary theory and cover three main theories of money demand. First, the classical theory of money demand, which is known as the quantity theory of money. Then, Keynes theory of demand for money. And the third theory is Milton Friedman's modern quantity theory of money. In all of these theories, a very crucial question is what is the role of interest rate in affecting the demand for money? So in this chapter, we will examine the role of interest rate on the demand for money in all these theories. In this recorded lecture, we will explain the quantity theory of money, where other theories will be covered in the interactive campus lecture. The first point of this lecture is explaining the definition of monetary theory, which is concerned with studying the impact of money on the economy, which means that it examines the role of money supply in determining the price level and total production of goods and services or aggregate output in the economy. So, the supply of money is an essential element in understanding how monetary policy actions affect the economy. And when we study monetary theory, then we will understand the factors that affect the quantity of money in the economy. And here we will focus on the factors that affect the demand for money. Second point of today's lecture is the quantity theory of money, which was developed by the classical economists in the 19th and the early 20th centuries, where it explains how the nominal value of aggregate income is determined, and because it tells us how much money is held for a given amount of aggregate income, we can consider it as a theory of money demand. The most important point of this theory is that it suggested that interest rates has no impact on the demand for money, as we will see now. So now let's explain the equation of exchange, which was proposed by the American economist Irving Fisher in his book entitled as The Purchasing Power of Money, which was published in 1911. This approach examines the link between the total quantity of money or the money supply and the total amount of spending on final goods and services produced in the economy. So we can express this relation as shown in the equation MV equal PY, where M represents the money supply and P represents the price level, Y represents the aggregate output or income, and here this is real income. Then when we multiply the price level by the real output, we get the nominal GDP or nominal income. So here PY represents nominal or nominal income or nominal output or nominal GDP. Then V represents velocity of money, which is defined as the average number of times per year that a dollar is spent in buying the total amount of goods and services produced in the economy. And we can compute the velocity of money using this formula, V equal P times Y divided by M. So based on that, the equation of exchange states that the quantity of money multiplied by the number of times that this money is spent in a given year must equal the nominal income. So here This is just an identity, not a theory. To convert this identity into a theory, we need to impose some assumptions to understand the factors that affect the velocity of money. These assumptions include: first, velocity is fairly constant in the short run, and in the long run, it depends on the technology development and the habits of payments in the society. Based on that, the velocity depends on the institutions in the economy that affect the way individuals make transactions. For example, if people use credit card to make their transaction, this implies that they use money less often when they make purchases, so less money is required to conduct the transaction generated by the nominal income. On the other hand, if people use cash, checks, or debit cards to make transactions, this means that they are using more money because, as we have explained in chapter 3, all these forms are considered as money. Checks, cash, and debit cards are different forms of money. So, if people are using these forms to make transactions, this means that they are using more money to make purchases, uh, to buy the generated or the produced amount of goods and services. According to this theory, the institutional and technological features of the economy would affect velocity only uh, in the long run, and velocity will be normally constant in the short run. So, this assumption will turn the identity into a theory. Second assumption is that the aggregate output is at the full employment level, so we cannot increase the output in the short run. Therefore, it changes in the money supply affects the price level only, or we can say that the movement in the price level results only from the changes in the quantity of money. Based on that, we can say there is a proportional relationship between the money supply and the price level. For example, if money supplies increases by 1%, then prices increase exactly by the same 1%. Now let's solve some examples related to the quantity theory of money. In the first example, if the money supply is $500 and the nominal income is $3,000, then the velocity of money equals what? A 1 over 60, B 1 over 6, C 6, D 60. Now to solve the problem, we substitute these values directly in the equation of exchange. And in this example, the nominal GDP PY equals 3,000 and the quantity of money M is 500 trillion. So V equals PY divided by M. So it's 3,000 divided by 500. So the velocity of money is 6. This means that the average dollar is spent 6 times in purchasing the final goods and services produced in this economy. Example number 2. If nominal GDP is $10 trillion and velocity is 10, then the money supply is A 1 trillion, B 5 trillions, C 10 trillions, and D 100 trillion dollar. So, as before, we need to substitute the given information to find the value of the money supply, and here M equals BY, which is 10 trillion, divided by the velocity of money, which is 10, so the money supply equals 1 trillion. Now we can use the equation of exchange to explain the factors that affect the demand for money, and we can do this by dividing both sides of the equation by V. Thus, M equals 1 over V times Py. By assuming that the money market is in equilibrium, then the demand for money should equal the supply of money. So we can replace M in the equation by MD here, which refers to the demand for money. And also, since in the quantity theory of money, we assume that velocity of money is constant, so we can replace 1 over V by the simple K. And then if we substitute K for 1 over V and MD for M, we can rewrite the equation as shown here. MD equals K times Py, and based on that, we can see that this theory suggests that the demand for money is a function of income. Here, MD depends on Py, and as we can see, there is no role for interest rate in this theory. So here, Fisher's theory assumes that interest rates have no effect on the demand for money. And now I will stop at this point, where the rest of this chapter will be covered in the interactive lecture, where we will discuss the Keynesian theory of demand for money and the modern quantity theory of money, which was developed by Milton Friedman. Thank you for watching and see you next week.